YouTube, Chris here, the Country Roads Gardener. Welcome you back to another video. I'm just turning off my GoPro here because in fact I'm recording a video whilst recording a video, and whilst I was recording the other video I thought I'd record this video. So anyway, I'm going to get to the point because I don't want this to drag on so much. But basically, I know and I'm aware that my content has become showing the job. And I chat about the job, how I'm going to do it, I show how I tackle it, and the end results, etc. I started off doing YouTube chatting about aspects of the job as a whole, as a career, as how to do pricing, how to treat customers, advertising and such. And that's kind of slipped to the wayside. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One being time, length of videos. I have, as you'll probably find from this, I have a way of my tongue carrying away with me and chatting about something irrelevant and maybe going off on a bit of a tangent, and that's not very appealing to you, the viewer, at times. So I kind of just didn't bother with it. But I get a lot of comments on those older videos, and I get private messages asking for help, information, asking me to dive a little bit more into things, etc. But it's very difficult to do that sort of thing. So now I am very privileged to actually be an admin of a Facebook group with another YouTuber, and we've got something like 1,200 subscribers, followers, you know, or whatever they want to be called on that group, which is great. And that's professional gardeners, landscapers, lawn techs, fencers, etc. Tree surgeons. There's a whole mix. So it's a really good network of people to tap into for information. And I thought, well, what I could do instead of actually talking within the other videos is I will chat about subjects once a month on a static view. Because if you're familiar with my other videos, you'll know that I put a lot of effort into the videos, into the editing. I love this. Why I got into YouTube really is because the editing is another outlet for my creativity. I get an itch if I don't have something to be creative with. I get an itch and I have to do it. So my editing is one of those outlets, as well as something else that I'm going to go into in a little while, which is another business I'm starting to tinker away with, and why I haven't put out as much content as I would like. I've filmed it. I've filmed so much, but I'm not going to release something that I'm not happy with, which might be my downfall for the channel because I don't release stuff. I'm not going to just do a static video of me pruning a shrub because it's content. It doesn't give me the fit, and I can't see the point in it. So I only ever try and put stuff out which I think's of any good. Otherwise, what's the point? So here I am ranting on a little bit, like I said I would do, and I thought what I'd do is have a chat of the very first one about a question, about an experience which happened to me last year. And I put this question to my Facebook community about what their opinions were and what they would do in a certain situation, and this is a situation that does crop up more often than I realise, and I'm happy about, to be honest. And it's purely about people taking other people's work and trying to pass it off as their own. Now, when I first started in my business, I didn't have a lot of... If you look at my videos, the videos that I'm filming are genuine customers. I work in a very relaxed manner. I have a very few customers. The customers I go to are bigger, more premium properties, and I go 12 months of the year. I go once a week, all year round. And that's the clientele that I've always done. I've never been... I tried doing it, but it didn't interest me as doing the quick turnaround, in and out lawns. I'm not saying that's not bad. There's certainly a very good, strong market for it, but it's not me. Doesn't mean it's wrong, the way you're doing it or the way I'm doing it. It's personal preference. So anyway, when I very first started, I had a website to be set up, and I spoke to my guys who are going to set it up for me, because I'm not very techy. The techiest I've got is more now with the editing and such, and I've forced myself down that rabbit hole to understand it, etc. And they came to me and said, well, what imagery have you got? I said, well, I don't really have a lot for the type of clients I'm going for. And they said, well, we can use stock images. Now, basically, the stock images, from what I understand, are photos which have been taken for the purpose of advertising, and they can be quite generic. If you use any sort of advertising platform, any sort of printing advertising platform, like, but not excluding, and just in the case of Vistaprint, shall we say, if you search gardeners or lawn mowing, you'll get a very generic picture come up. And they said we could use these images for your advertising. And I looked at them and I was like, no, they're not what I want. I want to use my own work. I want to use stuff like that. So I trod water with very basic lawn cut pictures, etc. And very basic. And I look back at some of the fencing jobs that I'd done, and I go, I wouldn't have used that as advertising, but it's what I had. It's my work, and it was genuine and stick. So anyway, I just want to say that you use your own, or you use the stock photos. But the title of this video all comes around a dishonest person wouldn't steal somebody else's work. If you're a landscaper, you would hope, take somebody else's picture off of Google, off of Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or whatever, put it up onto your website, Facebook page, or whatever, and try passing that work off as your own. But this is what's happened to myself. I progressed through, and I got premium pictures of. I got good pictures of my premium lawns and the works that I do. Now, I'm actually filming at the moment, and I feel this is relevant for this conversation, my week. My customers that I go to on a regular basis, the type of clients they are, and I'm doing snippets from the day. Snippets of the day, and this is what my typical week is like. So I think people will find that quite interesting. And I'm going to dive a bit more into my marketing outlet and how I approach I'm going to call them premium clients because they are the bigger properties. We talk acreage rather than how long it takes you. Like some of the lawns I used to do, it would take longer to get the mower out of the van than it would to do the lawn. But what you'll notice with my working week when that video comes out and you watch it is, okay, we're in November, but I've got the mower out once this week, and that was a ride on, and that was to clear up an area after I've been tidying it up and reclaiming it. So I don't do a lot of lawn cuts. It's never been my thing, so it might not be for everybody, but the information I give within those videos might help you get those bigger lawns and those bigger jobs if that's your thing. See what I'm doing here? I'm actually going round in circles and rambling such. So, getting to the point of what my experience was, I had on my Facebook page, and it was actually a lawn which I filmed for YouTube. I put up advertising on my company Facebook page, lawn cutting, I think it was lawn treatments, aerating, scarifying, weed treatments, etc., etc., weekly cuts. I never advertise fortnightly, monthly, or whatever, because for me personally it doesn't pay, and it's just not, as I said, it's not my thing. You'll see a repeating pattern. Lawns are not my thing. I don't. It just doesn't give me the fit. It doesn't interest me. I'd much rather be in a bed or a border, pruning a tree, doing some hedge work or whatever, than cutting the green stuff. And that's personal preference. I'd like to add that's personal preference. So I had this advertising up, and I didn't watermark, as I don't watermark any of my pictures. I don't feel that you should have to watermark, but somebody else took it upon themselves to take one of my images off and put it up onto their own social media and have some text with it. I say social media as well as a website, have some text with it advertising lawn works. that doesn't sit right with me as a person. That doesn't sit right that I've worked hard to, one, just even get that customer to take that photo for me to actually put up for advertising. I didn't put it up there for somebody else to take, for them to take as their advertising. It doesn't sit right with me. And I put this to my community of a scenario. How would you deal with it, or how have you dealt with it when this has happened? And we had answers ranging from send the lads round, to the more sensible answers and the more calculated ones from people who have actually done it. Of one, sending a polite message across, cease and desist using this, to people who have actually taken people to, court letters, solicitors' letters, which for me wouldn't be so much of an issue, because my wife's a solicitor, and I'm in a fortunate position where a well worded letter or two can come from a director of a firm, if so need be. But when it happened to me, I sent a polite email, a polite message over, which I've still got all the screenshots of all the evidence and such as well, just in case anything happened in the future, saying, these are my images, please remove them, and assess your other images that may not be your works. And I was very fortunate that the person in question responded and said, yes, I held my hands up, it's this, that and the other, and they gave their reasonings to taking those images, etc. And saying, I've just started out, and basically, give me a break, Again, that doesn't sit right with me. What's the saying? That don't cut no mustard. Is stealing at the end of the day. There's no other way to it. But anyway, they did it. They kept to their word. They said they would remove them, and it was removed from the Facebook, social media, and also the website. So no further action had to be taken other than hurt feelings. And this is the problem, and it's the same way that you want to approach your customers, but I'll talk about this a little bit more in depth at a later stage. When you go to your customers, first impressions is your only impression. You can't go back on a second first impression. It's impossible in itself. But that's another subject for another day. So I'm going back to the Facebook post where I put it up and put it to the masses of how many people have had it done, and I was really shocked the amount of people that have had this done. And it sounds like some people have had it from old employees, which I can kind of understand. If you've been on a job, I mean, I've had people who have been self-employed and I've had them with me, and they've said, can I use these pictures of this job as some examples of my own work? And yeah, I'm happy with that, but let's just say you're in collaboration with Country Cottage Gardens. I did this work alongside XYZ, and there's no problems. I didn't personally have any issues, and I honestly, and I said this within it, I wouldn't have had any issues with somebody saying, look, I'm just starting out, would you mind if I took this picture, or would you happen to have any other pictures I could use as examples of lawn cutting? And at least you've then got that that friendly aspect to it, rather than saying, I'm just going to take that. And it was only taken down when it was discovered. And incidentally enough, it was shown to me because of YouTube, thankfully. One of my followers actually saw the pictures up and was like, hey, I recognise that lawn. That was actually one it's the Country Cottage Gardener done, and reached out to me, thankfully. So I'm thankful to that person, because I wouldn't have ever known. Now, you might say, what's the harm in this? What's the harm in taking somebody else's pictures? And this was one of the comments that came up. Personally, I think it comes down to your own personal ethics. I won't ever take anything that's not mine. That's just the way I am. Was there any harm taken in it? No, there wasn't any harm. They're not local to me. They're not stealing my work. But it's the ethics. It's the fact that it's happened. It's the way it's happened. You feel violated as a person. You've worked hard for that person. You've worked hard on that job. You want your advertising to work for you, not for anybody else. Why would you? It might sound selfish, but that's the reality. You want to put food on your table, and you do your work, and you put your advertising out to support you and your family, or whatever your situation is. It's down to personal preference, etc. Now, if that person was local, and this was one of the scenarios that came up, if that person was local and they were using your work, and then somebody else goes and gets work from that image, and then they do a horrendous job, and then they go and see your picture is also up as advertising, it could have that adverse effect to your business. And this had happened with somebody else. Somebody else had images taken, and the company name was very close to the one who originally done that works, and customers got confused, and poor works were carried out, and unfortunately other works, it affected that original poster of the image. So it can go the other way. It can actually have a swing. It can have a swing both ways of, negative impact within the original poster. So what can we do to actually stop people trying to pass off others' works? I mean, we see it. I've seen it with other YouTubers. I've seen it with YouTube videos, snippets being taken out. I'm sure Reese won't mind me mentioning his channel, where he actually had part of a streaming video, or part from a video that he was doing where he was doing some streaming, and it was taken into some advertising. I'm sure it was Reese. If not, I apologise, but I'm sure it was him. And I had it with another chap who I speak to very regularly, where some hedge cutting clips were taken and it's passed off. There's an advert which came up on Facebook a while ago for the Stihl GTA little chainsaw pruner, and this company, I believe it was a Chinese manufacturer of a cheaper alternative, actually had taken Stihl's video, or YouTubers of videos, and was using it for their advertising purposes. It's crazy. So it goes on a lot, and a lot more than I really thought. I thought there was a lot more people with a lot more scruples out there than there appears to be. But maybe that's my naive nature of, I would like to think everybody had these sort of ethics that I do, but evidently not. So other people within this thread that we were chatting about, a lot of people were just saying watermark your photos. I mean, me on Instagram, I bung up a few photos a week. I don't put up enough on my Facebook company page. I'll put up things again what I think of interest, or I forget. I'll take a photo, and then 6 weeks later I might put it up when I'm scrolling my phone and go, oh, what should I put up today? But that's mainly because I'm not pushing as much as I ever had to, although I am changing the structure of my business slightly, so you're going to see some changes, and I'll talk to you about those in due course, and hopefully that'll be of interest to you. But I've now stood on now for about 20 minutes and given an insight into an experience which has happened to me. I would be interested for you to tell me down in the comments if it's happened to you before, where your work's been pinched, and what you did about it, and how it makes you feel. How would you deal with that situation? Because everybody's different. I'm very aware that some people won't care. They're like, so flattered. I'm flattered, and do you know what? A part of me, I was flattered that my work had been taken by somebody else to be demonstrated as their own. But I was more annoyed because I don't want to sound, oh look at me, I'm a nice guy, but I'm not an horrible bastard. If somebody's, I've tried to help every single person that's ever contacted me, especially since I've been doing YouTube, with my 5 pence worth. There's a lot of subjects that can be chatted about. There's a lot of subjects I won't talk about because I don't feel qualified to talk about them. And that's always going to be the difference with my YouTube. Is I won't talk about things I don't feel qualified to talk about. I'll talk about things that are my personal thoughts, my personal opinions, and my personal experiences. And I'll make no apologies for that. Because if I can pass over my decade of self-employment history over to people, then it can only be a good thing in a roundabout way, although it might not always be negative. So it's a very different type of YouTube video, this one, and probably the only static type that you'll get from me. But I hope it's been of interest. I hope it sparks a bit of conversation. I know it's going to probably be something that some people won't like, but it's the reality that there are tea leaves out there who would take other people's work and put it out on social media as their own. And there's 1,000,001 reasons why people would do it. They're desperate for work. They want a foot on the ladder. They want to appeal. They want to appeal to the type of clients that particular job might do, and they've not got the opportunities to do it, etc. But that doesn't make it right. Whether I'm right or not, but that's my opinion, it doesn't make it right. And we could chat and I could rant and there could be people in the comment section who are going to go X, Y, Z, this is why they could do it and support that person. The person could be watching this. You could have done this yourselves. You could have thought about it or whatever. It's a very strange situation to be in. But there we are. It's one of those things with social media and putting yourself out there, whether it be a picture on a Facebook, on a YouTube, on a Instagram. We all put targets over ourselves for all manner of things. Like even this video is going to put a target on you for all sorts of manners of likes and dislikes and whatever. I know this video won't be for everybody, but I've asked multiple times within my videos what type of viewer we are, and I get most consensus of I'm a gardener and I'm viewing you. So if this type of video is of interest to you, let me know, and I'll keep doing the more creative ones within my customer base of the videos that I think will be of interest to you. Keep watch, and I'm putting together a full working week for me, and I'll go in a little bit more detail into my secondary business, which I really haven't got the time for, but it's a way for creativity that I'm really enjoying at the moment, and I'm earning a bit of cash from as well, which is nice, which will help me on the wet days, because I don't go out and work in stupid weather. I don't go and work in sideways wind and rain. But I can go into passion versus work versus necessary money making at another time, because that's going to be an interesting video, which is going to go into my personal preferences once again. Anyway, I've ranted on for 23 minutes and 25 seconds now, apparently. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Try not to crack your screen. Like, subscribe, comment, and let me know your experiences surrounding what we're going to call it, Picture Fest, Picture Pirate, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to finish my coffee. Thank you very much for watching.